Okay, so for your next project, you're going to learn how to recolor a black and white image. I highly recommend that you go to Flickr to download your image because you can actually download multiple sizes. So I'm going to download one of the large sizes. The 1024 size is actually pretty good. That'll work for what I want. So I'm going to download that. However, the owner has disabled this, so can't download it, sadly. So I'm going to go back to my photo stream and I'm going to find another black and white image. Okay, so I found this image and it allowed me to download it. So I downloaded the original size. The large would have worked with this one, but I just downloaded the original. So then what I'm going to do, it's download it right here. I'm going to open it up in Illustrator, or sorry, in Photoshop. So usually you can click on it and open it, but you want to make sure it's saved. So I'm just going to drop it on my desktop. And it went away. Okay, so I'm going to open it up and I'm going to just open it in Photoshop real quick. Okay, so now I have this black and white image of a rose opened in Photoshop. So I always make a copy of my background layer just so I have it and I never mess it up. How you're going to recolor is actually pretty simple. We're going to just do the simple techniques for this class. There are other ways of recoloring, but we're going to keep it simple for right now. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Hue and Saturation and it's going to create a new layer. Now normally what we would do is we would slide the hues and the saturations around. However, what these do is these adjust colors that are already on the image. If we have a black and white image like this, we have to select Colorize. And what this actually does is it allows us to add color. So I want to make a beautiful blue rose. So now as you can see, I have this beautiful blue already. However, we want to do this in multiple layers because we want to get it a little bit more realistic. So I'm going to do Control I to invert this so it's black. Then I'm going to take my paintbrush tool with white paint and make sure my opacity is all the way up, make sure my flow is all the way up. And make sure I'm on normal, not overlay. And I am going to color most of this. Now I didn't want to color the background. I don't want the background blue. I'm going to make the brush a little bit harder. There we go. So I'm just going to show you guys a real short, simple example. So what I was talking about, that you're going to have to do this in layers. I would zoom in and I would get all these close edges. All right, but for the sake of time, we're going to skip ahead. So on yours, you should zoom in, get all these nice edges to where it looks really clean, okay? I'm going to add another layer of hue and saturation. However, this time I'm going to focus on the blues and I'm going to darken some areas, bump up the saturation. I'm going to do Control I to invert that so it's all black. Then I'm going to take my white paintbrush. I'm going to make my brush a lot smaller. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I make my brush a lot smaller and I'm going to just very lightly brush it on certain areas. Now, if you don't like that, I'm going to come in here and clean it up a little. So what I'm doing is I'm kind of adding some nice shadows to it. switch back to white. I'm going to actually lower the opacity. See, I can get some nice shadows. If you lower the opacity, you can really get some darker colors brought in here. Then I'm also going to do, oops, not a mask. I'm going to do another hue and saturation. This time, focus on the blues. Gonna do some brighter areas. Same thing. Fill it, whoa. Control I to fill it with white. Oops, sorry, Control I to fill it with black. And then I'm going to use the white brush to kind of just brighten up some of these little highlights here and there. You can also, depending on your image, you can play with the color balance. This is where you get your shadows and midtones. So I'm going to play around and darken up some of my shadows, see what I can get. Okay, so you're going to make multiple layers. I don't want just one hue and saturation. Now, if you'll notice, I've actually started turning the background green here. So this is where you'd have to come in, use your mask, and then use your paintbrush to get some of these colors that I got from that. You can also use the color balance, vibrance. You can play around with several of these. Now, you do not have to do a flower. You can do basically any image you want. I highly recommend that you do some kind of landscape or scenery just to make it a little easier on yourself. I do not recommend people for your guys' level just yet. People come with a lot more complexity to it. So stick with something simple from nature like a plant or a flower or a landscape. Just a simple image that you can find, but it does have to be a black and white image and you are going to recolor it.